Okay, we're back out on the road, and today it's down to temperatures because the studio, I've got a studio at home. Jonas, you've got a studio.
The heat that's coming from my studio, it is not a pleasant place to be in there.
Yeah, mine is even worse because my studio is smaller. So we'll come out, it's 33 degrees here, which, believe it or not, is much cooler than our studios. We're in some nice shade outside the Poachers. This is Bamber Bridge. We've filmed here quite a few times. But we're going to be talking about one of the myths I've had in the comments section, and it was, I can't charge at home, and even if I got a cable gully or a boom arm, I can't guarantee to park outside my house every single day to be able to charge my car.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before. So it's probably a good one for me to speak to on this. I live in a mid-terraced home. These are homes built 150 years ago. Narrow streets. They were originally sort of these cobblestones that have been tarmacked over. Definitely not designed around cars. Cars were not a thing when these were all made. Do people have electric cars around where I am? Well, yes, there are plenty. There's a
lot, actually.
There's a whole number. I've even plug-in hybrid cars. Owners are using those. So I think there were two things that you mentioned. So one was obviously
not being able to charge at home at all because you haven't got a cable gully, so you haven't got a way.
Definitely not an issue. Even those without driveways, no problem charging. They usually have, they're able to charge outside the home. It's very rare that there's not a space outside my home for a vehicle.
Yeah. So it's really down to two issues. One is, can you charge safely? You're not allowed to trail cables across a pavement. So you need to come up with a way of doing it. Now, when you go to a gig or a concert, they'll often have down where you come in walking areas, outdoor concerts are like this. They will just run these big, thick rubber things, and they can run cables inside it.
And look, it obviously passes health and safety for a environment where it's dark, people are potentially drunk. So it passes that, but again, we've got to look at what's ideal for out and about in the street.
And I've just, I was charging recently, just a couple of hours ago, and I met up with someone who's having one fitted, and I'm going to try and get there when that's going in, so we can film an installation. But his council has approved it.
Right.
He's from, I think it's Blackburn. Anyway, it's becoming more and more accepted to be able to do that. So council after council now will start to fall in line and say, well, we can't think of a reason why you shouldn't have a cable gully because it's not a tripping hazard. We have to stop cowboys digging up pavements. That's a really serious concern. So it might come down to the fact that you can only use an approved contractor.
Well, so the cable gullies are kind of the way to get away from this big trunking that you put over the top, because certainly the ones near where I am, some of them are better than others, but they can be pretty chunky. And if you've got a pram, if you're certainly in a wheelchair trying to go over them, let's not pretend they're not ideal. And owners of PHEVs and EVs that are plugging in, they're trying to be as respectful as possible, but it's just not an ideal thing to try and cover up a electric cable, which is where these cable gullies come in, that we have seen some of the technology in action. Where was it? Birmingham that we saw it.
Turbocharged, we saw them. And that is absolutely brilliant because we keep getting told 30 to 40% of the UK population can't have EVs because they can't charge at home. But in actual fact, Turbocharge thinks about 30% of those can have the Turbo. It's approved by a number of councils. Surrey Council has just approved it. For all the council taxpayers. So they are becoming accepted. It's very slow to catch on, but they are brilliant. And they dig professionals will dig a properly shaped gully of a certain depth. And these are just long boxes. They just drop into it, and then they seal it with a flexible resin. They started off using concrete.
I found that fascinating, which is you think, put in something nice and stable, rigid, and things like that. Didn't hold up.
No, the concrete started breaking up with all the movements and prams going over it and everything. So they've learned, Turbo's learned, and they now use it's a semi-solid resin, so it will give and take just that little bit. But the important point about these is they are flush with the pavement, so there is no stepping over them. There's no effort for wheelchair users or anything. And getting the cable in, they demonstrated at Turbocharge for people who are less able. And they actually had a little tool. It was a little rod, and they just literally got the cable, put it in, ran that along, and the gully opened up, the cable dropped in, and that was it. And then when they finished, they just took it out of the car and just pulled the whole thing, and it all came up again.
It's very accessible, friendly.
It was brilliant. But that doesn't do anything for those who can't pull up and charge outside their house. So I'm going to tackle one of these, but can I ask you a question? You live there. You go out walking, pick up the kids, drop off the kids, go shopping and everything. You don't drive. No. So you don't have a car.
It's not in my budget as much as... on an EV channel, that would be the ideal thing to do. It's not yet in budget.
I did get many people who actually commented. This is sort of the comments we get. Oh, if you can't even convince your eldest son, who's on the channel filming, to drive an EV, is he driving an ice car? What a hypocrite you are. And I've laid off it for a while because Jonas was really back street. He wasn't involved very much. But lately he's been getting more and more involved in the channel. And so I'm quite happy to say that Jonas has never had a full driving license.
No, I did actually attempt it back in my 20s and things. I was working about 60 hours a week. I managed to carve away enough time to do some lessons with Dave, helping me out and things. Failed on mirrors and things. Yeah, classic one for people. And then I just was not in a position to retake it. And then my lifestyle has always been that I just walk everywhere. And recently got the whole family into bikes, picked up some secondhand bikes, and we bike everywhere. But yeah, just not there yet.
Increasing number of people are actually either getting rid of a car or never bothering one in the first place, because it is a huge expense. You have to buy the thing, then you have to repair it or service it, they have to insure it, you have to road tax it, then you have to put petrol in it, and your lifestyle revolves around you not having a car. So when you're looking at jobs, you look at jobs within walking distance. You can get the bus if it's raining, or a taxi, but normally you would walk.
It was also to avoid commute times and things eating into everything. So whenever I've worked, it's usually 15-minute walk to wherever I go. So I don't have to deal with all the hassle of maintaining a car and the difficulties there.
Yeah. But that raises a question. So I'm going to ask you this direct question. You come out in and out your house regularly, your studio overlooks the front. How many times throughout a typical 24-hour period is there a space outside your house?
Probably 50 to 75% of the time there's a space out there. There are times where my neighbour parks there and they know that we don't drive, so it's not an issue. So I'd assume that if we were driving more often, they'd probably be a bit more give and take and a bit more understanding of that one. But yeah, it's usually able to have a space there.
So we come back to one of the core issues of people. I can't have a car because I can't charge it home. They actually believe that they have to charge the car every single day. Every day. Now, the average car, I've got a Tesla Model 3 long range, 300, 350 mile range. I don't need to charge every day. Mine doesn't charge every day. My wife has got a Dacia Spring, and that in the summer on a good day, if you precondition it, or you can't precondition it, but on a really good day, you might get 100 mile out of it. Hers charges once a week at home, because she only does 5 or 6 mile there, 5 or 6 mile back every single day. It lasts the best part of the week.
I think that's the interesting thing that I see around, where people charging around with these trunking over the top. If it's a full EV, they're not there regularly. If it's the PHEV, that is much more frequent. If they've used the car, usually it's then plugging it back in to top up that battery. So they tend to be the ones that use it more.
And this is one of the main differences between a PHEV and an EV. People say as the range of a PHEV gets longer, then they get more like EVs. No, they don't. Because the batteries are still very small. The performance is still really appalling compared to a full EV. But for most people, if you get a Dacia Spring, that's about the lowest, about 100 mile range on a good day, up to Renault 5, about 200 miles, Twingo, about 150 miles, BYD, Dolphin Surf, the base model of that is about 140 miles. For most people, they only drive 20 mile a day. This is government statistics. So it's 8,000 mile a year. You get this data, by the way, from any of the leasing companies. They all publish data as to what is the most popular length of lease, and also what's the most popular mileage they select. And they say that the average miles is 8,000 miles.
And I think people have a tendency to think that they're not average when actually statistically most people are close enough to it.
Yeah.
You always have those exceptions if you're salesman on the road and things. Yeah, of course you're going to blow way past that average, and there will be different considerations, but yeah, the average is there for a reason.
Yeah. So an average driver will drive probably just under 20 miles a day. That's it. Yeah. So if you have even a Dacia Spring, or you've got a Renault 5 or any of these budget cars, then you have got a week's worth of range in your battery at any one time.
Yeah.
So when it comes to parking in front of your house, once a week.
Yeah, and this is the thing, that's why I'm not concerned. I would happily sort of, if I get my license, if I get an EV, I wouldn't have any hesitation
can
about...
I stop you there?
Go for it.
If you got your license and you bought a car, would it be an EV?
It would. That, for me, the environmental thing is just such a big thing, which is that, look, I've got grandparents and things, not you with your EV and things, but the kid's nan comes round and the engine running. It's amazing how quickly that I don't have many petrol cars or things waiting outside the house and things. When they're there, it wafts into the house. It's just not a pleasant thing.
So once a week. Now, you mentioned something about your neighbour having a car, and sometimes they park there because of the arrangements of cars. If you ever got an EV and you needed to charge it home, all it takes is knock, knock. I would like to charge my car tonight. Would you mind parking over there just for tonight? And I'll park here in front of my cable gully so I can charge my car.
I just don't think it'd be an issue because, again, you don't have to charge it, wait for it to get to the point where it's critical and then go, oh, no, I can't park there. I would just wait for an opportunity where I know it's getting down. I go, right, I'll plug it in now.
So you walk home you drive home one day in your new or used EV, and you come home and you find there is a space there, park there, plug it in.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't wait until it's empty and you have to charge.
Oh, I'm not one to leave it until it's critical and then go, oh no, I've made a mistake.
So there's an awful lot of myths and misconceptions out there, and people just fall in for them. If you cannot charge at home at the moment because you haven't got anywhere to pull off the road to charge, then look into cable gullies, overhead booms and the like. And that would be, instead of 30 to 40% of houses not being able to charge at home, I think that would bring it down to 10 to 15%. And I say that because government figures, if you look at all the housing in the UK, 15% is flats and apartments, only 15. However, half the terraced houses are already converted into flats. You get these HMOs, don't you? House of multiple occupancy.
Not half, but yeah, there's a lot out there.
Yeah. But some of those who live in apartments or flats will be in a house which could have a cable gully, and they would arrange it.
Actually, our next door house, that was turned into HMO actually, and has multiple people in. But again, it's not put any extra pressure on the car parkers. But as I said, it's usually 3 hours, because it tends to be younger people that don't necessarily drive that tend to just walk places.
And if charging is really is still an issue, just get one of the longer range cars. Now, if you go onto the Hyundai site, their website, fabulous site, and they got a page which is about range and charging. Excuse me. And that one actually says, here's all our models. So we got Insta, we got Konas, we've got Ioniqs, we've got whatever. And here is, if you do, and there's a slider for this many miles a year, here's how often you need to charge it. Right? And so if you slide that to 8,000 miles a year, what you find is even the little Insta is once every 11 days. That's the smallest car they make. That's a budget car. And the top of the range, the long range Ioniq 6 or something, that one is every 19 days.
But I don't even think the long range ones are necessary. If you think about it, even if there's a critical time where you run low, there are cheap charging options, not as cheap as home charging. Obviously, home charging is the sort of gold standard for bargain ones, but you can just charge at some of these off-peak ones. You can find free charging out and about. It's just a little bit more effort to find it. Whereas the extra cost of going for a long-range model versus just making sure you try and charge, or the occasional thing where you're charging. It might not be worth it going for the long range model.
I often say this, it's a bit like me when I take the grandkids out to the beach and buying an ice cream. And you know the ice cream van on the beach is about £5 an ice cream, and it'll be a tiny little one. Like going to Tesco's, I get a box of 6 for 50p. It's, you know, exaggerating, but you just accept it because it's a treat for the kids and everything else, and you just accept you're going to get ripped off. The same with long-range EVs, that you just accept that if you haven't got the budget for a long-range one, just buy an ordinary range one and use your home charging as often as you can. But if you run out, like Jonas says, just find your nearest cheap charger once a month, once every 3 months, and top it up there. And yeah, it'll be an arm and a leg, but it's once.
I think that's my philosophy. So one of the reasons for not actually having a car, which is that if I want to take a taxi, and I don't usually take a taxi anywhere, but if I want to, I can, and that's going to be way cheaper than all the insurance, the fuel, the operating costs, maintenance of a car. So for me, the amount I'd have to use a taxi to get to the point where it is more expensive than having a car, it's just not going to happen.
You use it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
So why have I got a long range? My use is very different to an awful lot of people. I need to be able to jump in my car, drive to Bristol or Edinburgh, do some filming and drive back, and I can't be stopping. If I took my wife's dash of spring, I'd be stopping every 80 miles.
Well, this is the thing. It's seeing Charles down in Cornwall. That's a whole trip down to see family, isn't it?
Yeah. So you have different uses. I coped perfectly well with Black Knight, my previous Tesla, which was a Model S. And that one at 200 mile in the winter, 220, 240 in the summer.
The range was fine on it.
Range was fine. There were a couple of times it caught me out. One was when we came back from France and we hadn't been able to charge up properly in France. And we arrived back with a very low state of charge, and we just couldn't move until we got it full again. And we just went to the nearest Tesla supercharger. It took about 45 minutes to get up to full. We had a meal, sit around, chat, and then jumped in the car. Couldn't quite get me home. We did a splash and dash at, I think it was Hilton North on the M6, and then we're back home. So a couple of times, I've had to sit and wait for 20, 30, 40 minutes.
But to change everything about your car and the expense, and to be potentially paying thousands or tens of thousands extra, depending on how expensive your car is.
So for me, the car's a business tool, so I have to have what I have. So it's not down to money. It is literally down to how I use it. So I hope that's helped some people with this I can't charge at home because myth. It's not a myth anymore. If you pressurise your council into accepting pressure gullies, cite all the ones who you're hearing about. We'll put some names up as well on some of our future videos as to which councils are actually allowing them and encouraging them.
There's been quite a bit of movement on it.
Surrey's the one they've got a subsidised offer. It's £499 fitted. And it's subsidised by the council because they want them.
And also, one of the things that I found interesting, we haven't touched upon it, is that these cable gullies are not seen as permanent infrastructure. They are seen as a temporary thing that might be in there for 10, 20 years with the expectation that as technology moves on or needs move on, that actually they can just be pulled out, replaced, the surface replaced, and it will be like they haven't been there. And I think that's an important thing, which is that we're not talking about tearing up half of the pavements and things and then just permanently changing the landscape. These are seen as temporary infrastructure.
And you've got to think that with things like the new silicon carbon anodes, which are giving greater range, with the BYD now offering up to 1,000 mile range on a single charge, and with solid state batteries still to make an appearance, the day will come, if you're doing 8,000 miles a year, you only have to charge once a month. That's it. So how that can be a burden on anyone and stop them buying what might be a best car for them is crazy to me.
The long range models will be a very much longer range.
I think that's when you're going to see if, like you're talking about money, if you are faced with, here's a budget model, it's £18,000. Here's one that will do 1,000 miles without charging, and it's £38,000. hang on a minute.
Yeah. I'll cope with that other one.
I'll cope with it, and just once in a while, maybe on holiday or a road trip, I'll just suffer, and we just have to have an extra meal. So that's it. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks, Jonas, for joining in. Hope that's helped some people. If you've liked the video, as always, please click the like button. If you'd like to subscribe to see more of our content, please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can notify you. Big thank you, as always, to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members. Your support is fantastic for keeping the channel going, keeping us going, because this is hard work, one video a day. We work hard for it. Hope you're getting your money's worth. Thanks a lot. I'm Dave.
I'm Jonas.